The house we couldn't leave. I didn't think a house could feel like a decision. But that's exactly what it became. A decision none of us wanted to make. And somehow, a place that once felt like home turned into the reason my family almost stopped being a family at all. It started with a phone call early in the morning. My father had passed away in his sleep. There was no warning, no long illness, no final conversation to prepare us for anything. Just a quiet ending to a life that had always been louder than we realized. I remember standing in my kitchen holding the phone long after the call ended. Not crying, not speaking, just staring at the wall like my brain refused to accept what had been said. My father wasn't perfect. He could be strict, distant, hard to read. But he was constant. And now that constant was gone. The first time we returned to the house after the funeral, it didn't feel empty. It felt paused. Like the house itself was waiting for us to say or do something before it would continue existing properly. My older brother, Mark, arrived first. Mark always arrived first in everything. School events, family dinners, emergencies. It was like he believed being early could prevent things from going wrong. My younger sister, Anna, came later that evening. She didn't speak when she walked in. She just stood in the doorway for a long time, like crossing the threshold would make everything permanent. I came last, and when I stepped inside, I realized something immediately. Nothing had changed, and everything had changed. The furniture was exactly where it had always been. The photos on the wall were untouched. Even the faint smell of my father's old cologne still lingered in the hallway. But none of it felt alive anymore. It felt preserved, like the house was trying not to forget him. The lawyer arrived 3 days later. He was calm, almost rehearsed in his tone, like he had done this enough times that emotion would only slow him down. We sat in the living room, the same room where we had celebrated birthdays, where we had argued about nothing important, where we had once been a normal family. The lawyer opened his folder. "Your father left clear instructions regarding the estate," he said. At first, it sounded simple. The house, the savings, the personal belongings, everything divided equally between the three of us. Mark nodded immediately. Anna stayed quiet. I just listened. Then the lawyer paused. "There is an additional condition regarding the property." That sentence changed the atmosphere instantly. Mark leaned forward slightly. Anna looked down at her hands. I didn't move. The lawyer continued. "The house cannot be sold or transferred for a period of 120 days. Mark frowned. "That's fine," he said. "We can handle that." But the lawyer wasn't finished. All three heirs must reside in the home for the duration of that period. Anna finally spoke. "All of us." "Yes," the lawyer said. "And if any one of you leaves before the period ends, you forfeit your entire share of the property." Silence. Not dramatic silence. Heavy silence. The kind that sits in your chest instead of your ears. Mark let out a short breath. "So, he's forcing us to live together." The lawyer didn't answer. He didn't need to. We moved back in the next week. It was supposed to be temporary. A waiting period. Something we would endure and then move past. Mark took the master bedroom without discussion. Anna took her old room. I took the smallest room at the end of the hall. At first, we tried to act normal. We even ate dinner together on the first night. No one talked about the will. No one talked about what it meant. But silence has weight. And after a few days, it started pressing down on everything. The first real tension came from small things. Mark started talking about the house like an investment. "This place is worth more than we expected," he said one night, scrolling through listings. "We should sell it once the time is up." Anna didn't like that. "This isn't just money," she said. Mark shrugged. "It's a house. It's not him anymore." That sentence lingered longer than anything else said that night. By the second week, the house had become something else entirely. It wasn't just where we were living. It was something we were being evaluated inside of. I started noticing patterns I couldn't ignore. Mark was always on his phone late at night, talking quietly in the kitchen. Anna avoided certain rooms, especially the study. And I found myself walking through the house at odd hours, just to avoid sitting still with my thoughts. That's when I found the journal. It was inside the study, hidden behind old files and books. At first, I thought it was just my father's notes. But it wasn't. It was different, structured, detailed, and deeply unsettling. It wasn't memories. It was observations, dates, times, behavior. He had written about us, about how often Mark visited, how Anna responded to family calls, how I slowly stopped coming around as frequently over the years. It wasn't emotional. It was analytical, like he had been tracking the state of our family the way someone tracks weather patterns. And then I found the last page. It said, "A family is not what remains after I am gone. It is what remains of them after I am gone." I sat there for a long time after reading it, because I realized something I didn't want to admit. This wasn't random. The will wasn't just about inheritance. It was about measurement. That night, I showed them the journal. Mark read it quickly, then shut it. "This doesn't change anything," he said. But his voice wasn't as certain as it used to be. Anna was quieter. "She was watching us," she said. I corrected her without thinking. "He was testing us." Neither of them responded, because both ideas felt equally possible. After that, things shifted again. Arguments became more frequent. Small disagreements turned into long silences. Mark kept pushing the idea of selling. Anna kept insisting the house should stay untouched. And I stayed in the middle, trying not to take sides, even though neutrality slowly became its own kind of decision. Then came the night everything broke open. It was late, rain tapping against the windows. The three of us in the kitchen, not really talking, just existing in the same space. Mark finally spoke. "I've already spoken to a realtor." Anna froze. "You didn't even ask us." "I don't need to," Mark said. "This is what makes sense." Anna stood up. "This is not just yours to decide." Mark's voice rose slightly. "It's not just yours either." And that was it. Something in the house felt like it shifted. Not physically, but emotionally. Like a balance that had been holding for years finally snapped. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked through the hallway again. Every step felt heavier than it should have. And for the first time, I wondered if the house itself had been part of the plan all along. Not as a reward, not as punishment, but as pressure. Something meant to force truth out of us, whether we were ready or not. On the final day of the waiting period, none of us had left. We sat in the living room without speaking for a long time. Mark finally broke the silence. "She didn't do this to give us something," he said. Anna looked at him. "Then why?" He hesitated. "To make sure we couldn't pretend anymore." No one disagreed, because pretending had already become impossible. The lawyer returned the next morning. We gave our decision. We would not sell the house. We would keep it within the family. Together. It wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't even a happy one. But it was the first decision we had made together in a long time. Months later, the house feels different. Not fixed. Not healed. But stable in a way it never was before. Mark visits more often now. Anna spends more time in the kitchen again. And I've stopped walking through the house at night just to avoid silence. Sometimes I think about my father's final decision. Whether it was fair. Whether it was intentional. Whether it mattered. And I think I've realized something I didn't understand before. He didn't leave us a house. He left us a situation where we couldn't ignore each other anymore. And somehow, that was the only thing strong enough to bring us back.